In this video, you will learn how to make a guy think about you constantly. 5 psychologically based tips that use the power of dopamine to keep him thinking about you all the time. Don't go anywhere because we're starting right now. The powerful tips that I'm about to share work by activating dopamine in his brain at just the right times to keep him thinking about you and craving you constantly. Now, I'm going to go into some detail here and explain what to do step by step. So be sure that you get all the tips because they work best when they are used together. And that starts with the first tip. Number 1, turn on the dopamine faucet. Dopamine is the powerful neurotransmitter that gives us a rush of positive feelings, pleasure, excitement, and happiness. Basically, whenever we're feeling amazing and excited, that's dopamine at work. Dopamine is the reason why we develop addictions to drugs and gambling and even sex, because these vices release a massive amount of this neurotransmitter in the brain's nucleus accumbens, and that causes euphoria, intense pleasure, arousal, and motivation. But because dopamine is metabolized so quickly, these feelings are short-lived, leading to a cycle of wanting more and more. This is known as the dopamine reward loop. Dopamine also plays an important role in attraction and dating because it's what makes us crave and want another person. See, when we interact with someone that we're attracted to, our brain releases dopamine and kickstarts the dopamine reward loop. This release of dopamine makes us feel great, but as the dopamine quickly decreases, we become motivated to seek more of that person's attention and get more dopamine. And this cycle continues because we crave that amazing feeling of euphoria. That's why in the beginning of a relationship, when we really like someone, we feel like we just can't get enough of them. So our goal in step 1 is to turn on his dopamine faucet and get the dopamine flowing. Remember, dopamine starts flowing whenever you're having a pleasurable experience, like eating delicious food or winning a jackpot, and also when you're spending time interacting with someone you're attracted to. But what's even more interesting and important here, your brain actually releases more dopamine when you're simply thinking about or anticipating that pleasurable experience. In other words, thinking about being with the person that you're attracted to or anticipating being with that person causes a bigger dopamine spike than when you're actually spending time with them. So if you can intensify his anticipation, you will spike his dopamine as a result. And the best way to intensify his anticipation for you is by frequently leaving him wanting more from you in a variety of situations. So what do I mean? Well, whenever you are having an amazing time interacting with him, you are going to be the one that's ending that experience at the height of it. Whether you're on a date with him or on the phone with him or texting him, you have to end those experiences early at least 90% of the time. If you want him to be thinking about you constantly, regardless of how much fun you're having or how connected you're feeling, you have to end your dates, conversations, and experiences when they're at the height. You must resist the urge to follow the date or experience through its natural progression. So, just when you're wishing that this date would last forever, yeah, that's when you have to say that you're getting tired or that you have to be someplace or some other excuse to end the evening. The point is to end the experience before it gets to the fizzle point. Even if you could talk all night, you need to resist. And that leaves him wanting more and craving more, and that's igniting his anticipation for you and activates the dopamine reward loop that keeps him thinking about you constantly. Number 2, amp up the uncertainty. As I mentioned earlier, dopamine is released when you think about or anticipate spending time with your love interest. But if you want to multiply that dopamine exponentially, you simply need to add some uncertainty to that anticipation, because anticipation plus uncertainty equals a dopamine explosion. And that is precisely how casinos keep people coming back for more. They provide the uncertainty of winning and the anticipation of a big payout, resulting in massive dopamine hits that get people hooked on gambling. So if you want him to be constantly thinking of you, add a touch of uncertainty to his anticipation, and that will drive his dopamine through the roof. And one way of doing that is by not committing to dates, calls, or other plans too far in advance. So when he asks you to make plans, instead of giving him a confirmed yes, you are going to give him a maybe. You're going to let him know that you're open to the idea of spending time together, but keep the specifics up in the air. This adds uncertainty to his anticipation, and that spikes dopamine like crazy. So here's an example. Imagine your guy calls you on Wednesday to ask you if you have plans for the weekend. You let him know that you have a few errands to run and you're supposed to help a friend find a wedding dress on Saturday. And then he asks you if you could go to dinner with him on Friday or Saturday night. Now, rather than immediately saying yes and making a plan, this is exactly what you're going to say. That sounds like fun. Can I let you know closer to the weekend? Call me on Friday morning and maybe we can make it work. And just like that, you let him know that you're interested and open to the plans. That's the anticipation part. But you're not sure when you're going to be available. That's the uncertainty part. And together, his dopamine levels are going to go through the roof. Now, I know that some of you are thinking, no way, Antonio. If I don't accept his invitation, he's going to feel rejected, or that I don't like him, or that I have someone else. And he probably won't ask me again. I understand that concern, but I promise you this. If he asks you out, that means he wants to see you. And if you give him that maybe answer, he's going to want to see you more than he did before he asked, because uncertainty adds to his anticipation, and that spikes dopamine way up. I know it feels scary to do, but I promise, saying maybe rather than yes is super powerful. Think about how you felt in the past when a man didn't confirm plans with you and left them vague. It made you wonder more, it made you think about him more, and it made you want him more. Can you relate to this experience? Has that ever happened to you? Let me know in the comment section how you felt. I can't wait to read these. Number 3, be unpredictable and thoughtfully surprise him. Unexpected surprises are a great way to spice up any relationship, and they're especially important in romantic partnerships. We all love getting that sudden jolt of excitement when we receive an unexpected gift or a bonus at work or a kind text or call from someone we care about. But why do these surprises bring us so much happiness? Once again, the unexpected triggers our brains to release dopamine, which in turn gives us that rush of happiness and excitement. It's why receiving a surprise is so much more enjoyable than getting something that we were expecting. And you can bring this excitement into your relationship by surprising your partner with thoughtful gestures of appreciation. Whether it's a heartfelt text or a small token of affection or even a surprise date, these thoughtful surprises will not only show him that you're thinking of him, but they will also give him that all-important hit of dopamine. Just be sure to keep it unpredictable. It's the element of surprise that amp up the dopamine and makes these gestures so special. Number 4, do not use texting as a means of getting to know him. Texting has become the preferred method of communicating for dating, but texting is certainly not the best means of getting to know another person. I know it can be fun and convenient, but it can also become a dangerous trap that can ultimately lead to miscommunication and a decline in attraction. But I get it. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of texting when you really like someone. However, if you text too much or seem too eager, you risk lowering your value in his eyes. Too much texting can also lead him to getting too much satisfaction and validation from your messages, which will ultimately result in him getting less of the dopamine reward that he would normally get from seeing a text message from you. At the same time, if you find yourself stuck in this dopamine texting loop, you may find yourself constantly thinking about him and waiting for his next message and that next hit of dopamine. So how can you avoid falling into this trap? Well, you do it by only using texting for exchanging logistical information like, are you busy or I'm running late? Not for probing conversations about life. So in between dates, try to limit your texting to setting up dates or phone conversations, and this will force him to make plans with you or call you, and he will get to know you better through these other methods of communication. So if you find that he's trying to get to know you through texting, it's important to let him know that texting is not your preferred method of communication. Instead, you prefer talking on the phone or meeting up in person. And of course, even after you tell him that, he's probably going to continue trying to text you and engage in deeper conversations because he is also finding himself in that dopamine loop. So instead of giving him that instant dopamine hit that he's looking for, when he tries to continue engaging in deep conversations via text messages, then you do the next tip. Number 5, use an unpredictable texting style. Spice up your relationship with an unpredictable texting style. This works when you vary the timing of your responses, which will make him experience more anticipation and uncertainty, again, boosting his dopamine levels whenever he gets a text message from you. So when he texts you, mix it up. Sometimes reply within seconds. Other times wait for minutes or hours or even forget to respond. But of course, if it's an urgent matter or if he's asking an important question or he double texts, then you need to respond as soon as possible. But you're going to use this strategy for those everyday texts that don't require an immediate response. This will have him constantly checking his phone, wondering what you're up to, and most importantly, thinking about you. Don't let fear hold you back. Unpredictability will only make him more interested and excited. So vary your response time as randomly as possible, and he will enjoy the rush of dopamine that follows and that will keep you on his mind constantly. Remember, when someone takes a while to respond to your text, it can be frustrating, but also makes you think about them more. Anticipation and uncertainty keep you on edge, and when they finally respond, the rush of dopamine reinforces your excited feelings towards them. Also, if you're interested in becoming super attractive in his eyes, click here to watch this video, or click here to watch the video that YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy.